What's up, Rockstars? I just did a video showing you everything I was looking at, and of course that means some major game announcements. So let's go ahead and discuss that, plus a very big point at the very end of the video that you need to just keep in mind throughout this whole process. Now, right off the bat, Fractured Sky at 8,000 backers, almost 1 million races. So 3 days ago, they haven't even hit their last 48 hours yet. So this is going to blow up. By the time I post this video, it's just going to be massive for you guys. It's going to be a big deal. It already is a big deal. They are doing very good. Ivy Studios has a lot of community engagement. I know they make some games that people really enjoy. And so this is going to be something that a lot of people are honestly excited about, and that's really cool to see. I'm glad to see it. I think a lot of the things they're doing are really neat. I don't really care so much about the magnets per se, but I really like this player board that you only get, I believe, on this Kickstarter. So definitely take a look at this one. It definitely looks like a fun time. We also have Alter Realm of the Gods that has done incredibly well for the Red Joker. These is just a little card game, but already 333 backers, $16,000 raised. That's really impressive. Again, this is an indie company doing this, and it looks really good. They do have a solo mode available, so there is that as well. I've covered this a few times, but as I am a backer, I wanted to show you where I put my money, at least right now. All right, we also have Alchemy RPG, a reimagined virtual tabletop. Now, this has done quite well. Almost 2,000 backers, 300,000 raised, though there's a digital portion to this, so obviously that's involved too. One thing of note, last year at Gen Con, they actually had one of the bigger booths. I didn't go to it because there was a whole bunch of tablets and TVs there instead of board games, and I was there for board games, so I didn't go to their booth. But what they're doing here, it looks like it's very good for people that really enjoy these role-playing games. And I think this would have exploded on COVID. This would have been huge. So see, they actually have made 3 different ones. And if you look at this, the other ones were just kind of these little things here. It wasn't this at all. So it's very interesting to see them kind of go this direction. And again, I think if they had done this during COVID, it would be even bigger, because that's where people were really starting to play online with a lot of this stuff. This does a ton of stuff, though. If you're into RPGs, tabletop RPGs, this is something you want to look at to see if it can accentuate what you already do, or perhaps give you a means of doing more. So feel free to check all this out. I only understand half of it, but it's because I don't play tabletop RPGs. However, I think you guys might get a kick out of it. Moving on from that, we have Apex Legends, the board game. Now, this I actually did cover in my last video, but there is something super cool here. So I was looking at this and I was like, wow, this looks really cool. 40mm miniatures, so they're going to be larger miniatures. It says you save $10 for Kickstarter backers, but you're also paying shipping, so that $10 is really a moot point. You'll be paying more than at retail. More on that later. You have ability and feat cards, blah, 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 whatever, and a diorama base. I'm like, what the heck's a diorama base? A visually stunning diorama for both miniatures with card holder functionality. What on earth could that be? That's what that is. This is what you're going to get. This is premium stuff here. Really what this is, and they actually kind of, you can see me commenting, hey, what's going on here? And they were nice enough to share, which is great. All Legends will have such dioramas included, Core Box 2, and each one will serve as both a decorative piece and card holder for Legends ability cards. Each diorama will come with clear plastic lid to protect the minis while in transport. Guys, I've been saying this for a long time. You're paying more on Kickstarter, right? Ever since the whole price increase in manufacturing costs and shipping, and just in general, them being able to edge up that price more and more, what used to be a great deal is now a premium price for a collector's edition. More on that later, but just know that what you're getting now, that FOMO, that Kickstarter exclusive, you're just buying collector's edition versions of board games at this point. So this is just a testament to that. This is excessive. I kind of like it. It's kind of cool. Let me know your thoughts on this. I would like to know what you think. Obviously, I'm saying that without seeing the price. So, yeah, who's to guess with a clear plastic lid that goes over top of it? You can't see where it fit on there, and it holds the cards off it. And yeah, it's gonna be wild, guys. Moving on from that, we have 5E RPG resources. This is actually the reason I have this here. Super cheap, €3. Print them out, use them. This helps support Ethiopia. You might recall a card game I reviewed a while back, Ethiopia, failed to fund. This is one of the things that they're doing to kind of help raise funds to do better on that. They already have redone the cards as well to make the art bigger and stuff like that. Listen to a lot of feedback there, but the price is still high and they're just trying to like do stuff to build up to that level. Fully support that. If you can't get the big thing you want, then like piecemeal it out until you can raise enough funds to do that. A lot of times people do like miniature ranges to get to the big miniature games, stuff like that. I think that's super cool. All right, into the Godsgrave. This is Lucky Duck Games' next big item, and it is back on Kickstarter, not GameFound. I'm seeing a lot of that coming up, and considering the fact that I covered last time that GameFound is now charging, and in fact charging a high price for it too. They're like backer kit territory, perhaps even more. Just depends on kind of what you're bringing in there. But either way, GameFound is getting more expensive, and we were just discussing with my patrons, I just was, how like the only real big items on GameFound that are coming up that we know of are pretty much Awakened Realms Zone stuff, which they're big, granted, but it just hasn't seen the adoption I think that they wanted to see, at least at this point after launching it and this much time passed, as perhaps they had hoped. I'm not saying it's not good. It's great to have competition. I fully support it. I just haven't seen a lot of movement that way. And in fact, now that they're charging more, I think there's going to be more movement this way. So it's kind of interesting. I would like to see them put some pressure on Kickstarter to implement some of the great things they've done on GameFound. But it's also interesting to see when companies start moving back over to Kickstarter. We'll see how this does for them. Over 4,000, almost 5,000 followers. This is going to be a big one. Digital hybrid game, like all of Lucky Duck games, they're going to have an app-driven part in there, but it says card-driven cooperative adventure game. We'll see where the balance and what's really driving it, I'm sure, as we learn more. Next up, we have the Shivers expansion, Triple Terror. This is actually 3 new expansions for the Shivers pop-up mystery adventure game. This is one I missed before, but I do like the style. What I don't like is perhaps all of that stuff. That's a lot of stuff. So I don't know. I'll take a look at it. I'll let you guys know. This is actually SFG's website. I don't really have a good place to send you guys to besides this, which is frustrating. I wish they would have like sign up pages better and stuff like that and link to it more. But this is for their Sea of Thieves game. So if you didn't know, it's all the craze now. Video games really started out mimicking like sports, but then very quickly board games. And you had like die rolls that would automate and stuff like that. You think of all the early RPGs. That's what a lot of that was automating like D&D essentially. Like that's how BioWare got their start, for instance. So like it's very interesting to see video games now making board games, and more on that later, of course, too. But this is actually kind of interesting from SFG because I don't know if you noticed or not, but all of these dev updates, this is the 4th one, they don't focus on minis at all. I don't know what this game is actually going to end up looking like. It'll be very interesting to see. I'll keep you posted, especially when we have a full picture. For now, I'll link down to this. You can read up on it as you wish. Very interesting to see that, though. Brass Empire is getting a 2nd edition, according to Raw Commander Games. It has deck building, so obviously interested. It's one of my favorite mechanics in board games. Yeah, we'll see what the 2nd edition, like how big is 2E, right? It's not a second printing, it's a 2nd edition. So be interesting to see what that is. Call of Duty, the board game. Speaking of video games becoming board games, this is interesting. This is very, very interesting. There's a few things I want to talk about this. Obviously, it's going to be huge. Obviously, it's going to be massive. It's Call of Duty, right? People are just going to buy it because of the name on it. It'll sell great. It'll be at retail. It'll sell well there, of course. It'll get all the people walking by, Call of Duty board game. Yeah, I'll buy that and play it tonight, kind of thing, and then realize they have to read a rule book and then not play. But it'll be kind of interesting to see how it plays compared to Six Siege. So I'm one of the few that have played Six Siege, and I think it did a first-person shooter style game extremely well. And that's honestly been a problem traditionally for board game companies. In fact, this Polygon article actually talks about that it's like, you know, there's companies have really struggled to really capture that FPS. So I thought Six Siege did great. I don't know how this one will end up. It'll be kind of interesting to see. We haven't seen anything yet. Like nothing about this is, except it'll be 1v1. They can combine 2 boxes to be 2, you know, like a 4-player session. Eventually, they want to keep adding more. They want to add like a cooperative thing where you can play through a traditional Call of Duty story. So imagine epic moments, I guess, in board game. I don't know how that'll work out. That'd be kind of interesting to see. It takes place in Modern Warfare kind of timeline, but it's its own thing. They're shooting for $50. So again, this would be a very good, like, I'm at Target and I just got Call of Duty the board game kind of game. I expect to see it in places like that, not just your friendly local game store. That being said, if you can buy a game at your friendly local game store over Target, do so. Definitely support them. There is some interesting points here. That is very, very kind of fascinating. So he says right here, like, but why is Activision, one of the biggest video game publishers in the world, using crowdfunding to produce a board game? Arcade Wonders is, not Activision, and Activision is just kind of supporting them in that. And what they're saying is it's fairly common in board game crowdfund. Yes and no. I mean, common in that, I mean, the Kickstarter is still fairly niche compared to board gaming as a whole, right? But this style of like miniature board game and stuff like that, I can understand why. But really, he says why. He says why. Right here, he emphasized his excitement to get the collector's edition components, even he called it that, out into the world for folks to see. If we only use the traditional route, it simply wouldn't be possible for us to offer fans the amount of content, scope, and scale we want to deliver from day one, added Walter Barber, creative director of Arcade Wonders. For example, we really want to include high-quality pre-painted miniatures in the core retail game, but every which way we tried, the costs were too high. We would have been forced to either compromise our vision or sell the game at a much higher price tag. By using crowdfunding first, we can make exactly the game we want to make and exactly at the retail price we want to offer it. So, the bottom comment here summarizes it perfectly. This guy here, Shriek Pilgrim, he knows what he's talking about here. Translation: he's excited about exploiting FOMO to get people to shell out more money to get Kickstarter exclusive components. Exactly right. So what this is, and this is fascinating they even worded this way. I'm surprised. Like, whoever's in charge of PR needs to, like, take over here. The creative director should not be talking to Polygon, apparently. Because I don't see why you would say this. You're really saying, hey, we want to be able to offer stuff like painted minis in our retail game, but the cost would be too high. So we want to actually sell it on Kickstarter first to have them pay so much that it makes it viable to sell it at a lower price at retail. Like I've been saying this constantly. It's why Kaman uses Kickstarter, right? It's why this is the thing. And I still have the update at the end of the video, so definitely stay tuned for that because it's kind of on point to this. But you can go and launch Zombicide now. Kaman can launch Zombicide at retail already in the green. They're not in the red. So normally you have a whole lot of R&D to pay for. You have all these artists to pay and stuff like that, your sculptors, everything else. You have all the molds to pay for, all of that kind of preemptive cost of marketing and making a board game. When you go to retail day one, you start below zero and have to gain money, gain profit on those sales just to break even. There's a break even point. With Kickstarter, you can start up here already profitable. So every single sale in retail is now a profit on top of that. Plus you have all the data on what sells well expansions wise. You already have a notion of what you need to do for retail when it comes to a reprint. You can quickly put another printer on if it was more popular than you thought and stuff like that, or print it all at the same time. You can combine freight. There's so many benefits to going Kickstarter and then retail for a business, an insane amount of benefits. The benefits to the consumer, to you and me, far less, far less. It is almost insurmountable, the amount of benefit a business gets. It is an insane benefit to them to go to Kickstarter for a huge amount of reasons, most of them not even reproducible. They couldn't do it any other way. When it comes to like the market data of like what people are interested in, what they're buying, what ads work well and don't work, and all that kind of stuff they get for it's a great deal for companies. And we get, I guess, some Kickstarter exclusives in a higher price. But it's really interesting to see that that's really what they're saying. Hey, we're going to go to Kickstarter first so that you guys can pay so much extra that we can sell it cheaper at retail. Why would you say that? Somebody make him stop talking. Okay, moving off that, 2 quick updates. The Thinning Veil, they have a web store. Okay, they're trying to sell merch, essentially. So like mugs and stuff like that. Just trying to get some money that way. They're also talking about coming back with a project that is smaller and costs less to produce. So they'll be back with something smaller scale. We'll see how that goes. But I definitely do, again, support building up to something big. I think that's totally fine. Kingdoms of Akandia, the Seven Realms, traditionally known as KOA Studios. They name dropped to me, so I have to mention them. They are actually going to be Forgotten Tales. KOA Studios was loosely after this Kingdoms of Akandia game, but that's not all they were going to do. And in fact, with that kind of, I think, failing twice now, they're kind of shifting to this Forgotten Tales. And actually, that's going to be their new website. It's going to be all that. They actually mentioned this, which is hilarious. I'm not going to go over it again, but it was said in jest. And I think it's cool that they're kind of moving forward with this Forgotten Tales thing. It sounds way cooler than KOA. KOA is kind of a dumb name. Let's all be honest. So, Forgotten Tales sounds cool. I dig that. All right. This is a Board Game Kingdom. It's a Facebook group. It is open to you to join if you wish to do so. Just link down in the description below, along with everything else I've just covered, by the way. This is a game group that I started, though it's not about me or my channel, and I do not make it. In fact, most of the comments are not about me. The vast majority, most of them aren't. Every now and then somebody will mention me, just like they will in other gaming groups. But it's a good place to be able to actually just kind of to talk about game industry and like be able to critique it if you want, for instance, and not get banned by the whole industry that's running the group, or even advertise your game and, get people jazzed about it and stuff like that. If you want to honestly do that, creators are welcome, of course. Content creators, share your stuff. There's no, oh, don't just come here and share your video. If your video is cool, share it. I think it's awesome. Hopefully somebody enjoys it. Anyway, Luca came here and had a fantastic post that I wanted to talk about. It says, Orange Nebula's Vindication Kickstarter bundles are available earlier in retail than to backers in some countries and at a significant discount. I'm going to stop there and talk about the earliness. So there's a few things. Obviously, I feel that fundamentally, we as consumers do not get enough benefit from Kickstarter to warrant how much extra we're paying. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But one of the benefits we can get is being able to get it first, being able to get it early. Retail gets kind of hard with that for a few reasons. In general, I would like to see backers get it first, but it's not always possible. Here's why. You're sending out product, right? You made all the product, you shipped it all, and you sent it all. The retailers might have contracts, or you might be using an IP, and they may have contracts around actually when the launch date is, for instance. Additionally, you can't really tell your gaming stores to be like, hey, just sit on all this product you bought. Don't put it on there. Don't make money. Put it in that magical warehouse you don't have. Don't put it on your sales floor. They're going to put it out. Okay. They're going to be like, this rings up in this cash register. You don't have to know about it. I don't even care. I'm not holding it. I'm not putting it in some storage. I'm not storing it in my living room. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot different than it, trying to withhold, even delivering of it. Now, you could perhaps pay for, storage at the place there, but often they don't even necessarily do that either, the distributor, because they have to move through product as well. There's a whole lot of stuff involved there, plus costs go up. Unless you're really good on your timing, that's not always viable. And I understand, like I said, especially around contracts, but at all possible, you should do that. That being said, my friend little gaming store, the owner just orders it like normal. He doesn't do retailer pledges too much because he doesn't want that many. It's a smaller shop, the one that's really close to me. He just wants a couple copies. So he orders a couple copies just like I order a couple copies. And so he just gets it when he gets it. And there's no way they can know, oh, he's a store owner. Just like they can't know if I order an extra copy and throw it on eBay. So somebody that's not a backer plays it first there too. It just is what it is. I live in Idaho, so I typically get it last because normally they're an a port in Florida or something like that, way East Coast. But such is life. So I get that. But let's keep talking about the significant discount. E.g., Chronicles expansion is on average 50% cheaper at retail, whilst the fully loaded archive box I have seen on web shops in Europe are for about 30 to 50% less than backers paid depending on their country currency VAT. One thing to note is when you see it listed on a web store with €1, that includes VAT because that's required. Unless you're on Kickstarter, in which case typically that is extra, plus shipping is extra, right? You pay all these extra fees and customs and all this other stuff that makes it more expensive than the list price it shows. So whatever shows on Kickstarter, that is a fake number. That is not the real number. You're going to be paying more, if nothing else, for shipping in general, unless you back something like Chip Theory Games, stuff like that. Some people have found local shops offering pre-orders for 230 euros, and all of these include all of the same extras and promos found in the Kickstarter edition, which costs around 350 to 380 USD. I've never seen a Kickstarter Deluxified board game being sold retail before it's available to backers at such a difference in price that favors retail. Did you back Vindication or the big box? What do you think about this? Okay, so first of all, thank you, Luca, for asking questions, engaging people, and actually having us discuss it. So let's discuss it. There's a lot to unpack here. I actually contacted several companies last year, it may have been 2 years ago. It's 2 years ago at this point. Two and a half years ago, actually, because it was at my old place before I even moved. And I contacted them because I was like, hey, did you know that these people are undercutting you during your Kickstarter? And the answer was, yeah. So I don't know if you knew this or not, but the price you pay at the store is not the price the product was sold at. Let's talk video games for a quick example, because it's super easy and I know it well. When you go to Walmart and you grab a PlayStation 5 video game and you pay $60 for it, or $70 these days, $60 for it, right? Walmart didn't buy it for $60. $60 is their profit, right? They bought it for like 30, 35 bucks maybe. So like half, right? Now that means that Activision, let's say, or whoever was willing to sell it to Walmart for less than $60. So then you might think, well, why am I paying $60 for the digital version of the game from, Xbox or, from the company itself? And the reason is because they actually wanted to charge less, but then all the retailers were like, hey, if you start undercutting us, then that's going to make people not buy it from us. So we won't even carry your game, or we will never buy another game from you again. In which case they're like, oh my gosh, no, never mind. And so that equalized it. So now all customers pay the same, even though it costs them less to buy a digital game, even though it costs them less because they're willing to sell it to Walmart for 30, but for you, $60, right? So it's not fair, but that's how it works. Same thing with retail and board games. The game that you buy for $100 at your friendly local game store, that Zombicide, Kaman was willing to sell them that game for about half that price. Now, it all depends. There's a wide variety of that, but either way, less than what they're selling it for. So they can buy it under what you're being quoted on Kickstarter for your premium edition. And then even on sale, they can even incentivize it that way and put it even less than MSRP now and still make money. They're still making a profit. Though if they want, they could even lose money, but bring people in the door. That often sales will do that. Not so much in the board game space, but a lot of times that's what those doorbusters are and stuff like that, right? It's like, we're gonna lose money on this TV, but now we just got 1,000 people in our store. So we're gonna end up making money. So that's the bummer, right? When you see the price, and here's where he linked. He linked to this that shows 249 euro. I don't know what that is USD. I can't read any of this junk. It's like German gibberish. And then you have like 260.29 here. The point is that you are overpaying on crowdfunding, and you just have to kind of know that going in. You are paying premium. You're paying like triple what you should. When you spend $500 on Zombicide, do you have any idea how much Kaman loves you? Because you just gave them way more than they're getting from any retailer. Now there's the bulk thing, and I just covered the Game Crafter, which has this thing where the more people are ordering it, the cheaper it gets, because that's like literally how it works. You still end up making more money. Hey, now it's 5 cents less, but I sold 20 more copies. Hey, now it's $1 less, but I sold 1,000 more copies, or whatever, right? Like, that's actually how it works between bulk orders and how product works and shipping, the logistics and all that kind of stuff. The more people, the better. And putting in something like $500, no retailer is paying that. That's just not how that works. They are paying way less. All of these numbers are artificially inflated. You are paying for every Kickstarter exclusive. You're paying for every FOMO thing they have there. You are paying a pricey collector's edition. Going back to video games, you can get a video game, $60. You play the game. Or you can get the video game that also comes with a duffel bag and this painted statue and this other stuff for like $120. Now you're paying double, or maybe even more, maybe $300, maybe double or triple the amount that you would have paid otherwise. but you're getting this nice fancy stuff. It's the exact same thing. You are paying for a collector's edition of a board game. Now, there are exceptions. I'm talking about the big ones here. I'm talking about stuff like Call of Duty and stuff like that. Like, that's why they're doing this, because you are giving them so much more profit. And this is, I guess, a kind of a point. We've kind of been on a sorry note for developers for a long time because of their bad business practices and just not managing money well. And that's honestly kind of on them, right? It really is. I feel bad for them, but at the end of the day, you're selling a product to the public. You need to like have your stuff in order, right? But all of this is us giving them so much benefit. All of the business data, all of the profit, all of the money. They are putting their product that they're willing to sell for way less to retail and saying, pay this much, consumer. And then we can't even get it first. On top of that, retail still gets it first. On top of that, we still get delays. On top of that, we still get cheaped out products. On top of that, we still get asked for more shipping because it wasn't enough to begin with, even though we're already paying more than retail. All of this kind of stuff is just laughable. So much so that they're so, I don't want to say pompous, but so confident in their stance that they're willing to say stuff like this. By using crowdfunding first, we can make exactly the game we want to make and exactly at the retail price we want to offer it for a Call of Duty board game. It's audacious. It's audacious. So yeah, if you backed Vindication, you overpaid. You should have waited, because it's not even just that, but when you back on Kickstarter, you're out of that money for a year or 2 or 3 or 4 before you get a product back. Guess what happens if you go to retail? You're out of money for the moment you get the product. There is no lag time. You're not sitting there without it in your bank account doing nothing for you. You're giving them a free loan. You're giving them a free loan, and you're getting it last, and you're not even getting interest. You're not even getting anything special. You're paying extra. It's the worst deal you could possibly do. This is what this shows, is that backing Vindication was the worst purchase you probably made on a board game. should just waited for the retail edition. Could have kept your money for a lot longer and gotten a better deal. It sucks. It sucks when this happens, when it's so obvious. I think it happens a lot more than we realize because we don't see how much they sell to the retail. Where sometimes I've talked to some devs, they don't even make money on the retail. They just want their game, out there so that they can eventually make money. Essentially, they're playing the long game. So they'll sell it at almost a manufacturing cost. They're willing to do that for them, but not for Kickstarter backers. I understand it. I know it's a complex situation, and I'm not talking about nearly as much as would be needed to properly discuss the entire thing. We'll continue to discuss it. And if you have any ideas of your own and comments of your own, if you're a creator, a super backer, anything like that, let me know in the comments below. Let's have a conversation about this, guys, because it's kind of important when you see something this big about it, right? Like, people have commented about the web store and Mythic Games and stuff like that, but never about something as I guess obvious as this timing wise, obvious as this price wise. It just sucks for us, I guess. But hey, they get a lot of benefit out of it, so that's good, I guess. Anyway, guys, I don't want to end it on a bad note. There's a lot of cool stuff here. There really is a lot of cool stuff that you should be excited about. It looks like it's going to be an awesome time for board games. The industry is still doing just fine. And if I did miss anything, again, let me know in the comments below. Take care, guys.